Good afternoon. My name is Frank Emory. I have the honor of serving as chair of the board for the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. On behalf of our board and our hardworking, really accomplished staff, I want to say welcome to this summit, which we have dubbed Energizing Rural North Carolina. I'm told that parking is tough outside and that we have a crowd here, which is exactly what we hoped would happen. And I really appreciate the fact that while you could have been anywhere today in our beautiful state, you chose to be here with us to help us think through, and I'm hopeful come up with some good solutions and plans about how to help our entire state prosper. So how did we get here today? We're here because the entire organization's board and staff is fully committed to making sure that our state is prosperous. That's our number one job. And that prosperity reaches all corners of North Carolina. The folks at EDPNC often hear me say that we want to make sure that all 100 counties are in play every day. And so we love all our children. We want to make sure all of them are good. Now, as you may know, at this organization on a day-to-day basis, we focus on recruiting new companies, helping existing companies expand. We try to attract foreign direct investment to North Carolina. We try to help our existing companies here export their wares across in other countries. In addition, we work on helping small businesses, and of course, we have a huge travel and tourism effort in North Carolina. Did you know, for example, that North Carolina is the 6th most visited state in the country? How many people knew that? Okay, well, I knew the governor would, but yes, that's exactly right. Okay, that's one of the things I learned. So in addition to those things, we also, EDPNC is a strategic convener on major issues in economic development. And this is our first effort at this sort of convening of thought leaders. And so what you are here today as part of a group of thought leaders, people who are working in the field, economic developers, all of whom are interested in particular in our interest in making sure that our great state continues to thrive and prosper. What I want to do is recognize our partners in this effort, and they're very important. Of course, the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and in particular the Rural Division, the North Carolina Rural Center, the Golden Leaf Foundation, and the Institute for Emerging Issues all have been at the table from the very beginning to help plan and to work on this, and you will see them and their leadership all through this today. No effort can go forward without a leader, and the person who took this job on when it was just an idea in my head was Mike Hawkins. Mike Hawkins is a member of our board. Mike is the chairman of the County Commission in Transylvania County. He's also a very successful businessman. But what I've learned about Mike is that he probably has driven more miles for this state, with the exception again of the governor, than anybody else on our board. He lives in Transylvania County. He's made every meeting. We meet all over the state. And every week now for the last year, he's had at least 2 conference calls and 1 in-person meeting in Raleigh that he has either made in person or by video. So I want to bring Mike up to talk to you now about what we plan to do and how we do it. And I want to say right now, Mike, thank you so much for your leadership in this effort. Mike Hawkins.
Thank you, Frank. Let me begin, and first of all, let me say that we're given 5 minutes, and in our county commissioner meetings, we have a buzzer that goes off in public comment when they run over the time. I don't know if Chris has got a card or anything, or Frank's got the card. Okay, so I'll have to keep looking at Frank. So I'll be brief. The first, I do want to talk a little bit about why we're doing this, what we're going to be doing over the next 2 days, and also give some thanks. Frank did some thanks, but I want to give a couple of thanks as well. And I'll begin with that. I'll begin with the thanks, and it begins with you guys. Actually, you guys is the first priority. Thank you. As Frank said, you guys could be a lot of places today. You don't have to be here in the middle of July for this conference, but you're here because you care about rural North Carolina, you care about your particular communities, and we deeply appreciate that. We at the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina deeply appreciate that, and you need to know that. So thank you for coming. The other specific kinds of thanks that I want to point out, again, Frank talked about our sponsors and our partners, but also I would like to talk about the staff and the board members of EDPNC. As Frank said, this has been a process in which this is not our comfort level. This is not something that we typically do. It's a new experience for us, and it's been an intensive past 6 months in preparing for this. We have 5 board members who volunteered to be a part of this group, plus me. That's out of a total of 17 members, so we have almost half of our entire board involved in the planning preparation of this event. They are, and I'll mention their names, Caleb Miles, Dave Craven, Sheila Knight, Sheila Pierce Knight, and now I'm flustered, but also Gene McLaurin and Mark Zimmerman, and also Chris Chung and Frank Emory, who have been steadfast in their support. Quick background now. Oh wait, no, I want to also thank my staff our staff before we do that. The planning team, once again, this is out of their comfort level. This is not something they normally do, but they've been doing it with enthusiasm and with an enormous amount of energy, and it's because they see it as part of a passion, part of their life's work, as Frank said, to make sure that all of North Carolina has quality economic development. And those folks would be Michael Ebert and Kelly Dawson and Julie Drinkard and Jennifer Harkness and Mary Wilson, who are the 5 people on the core group who have helped plan this. So what did we plan? When we began this idea, we were very cautious about understanding and acknowledging that so many entities, so many groups, so many organizations already work every day on behalf of rural North Carolina in so many different ways. And we didn't want to come in and do something that they were already doing, or, importantly, give the impression that we thought that we knew better than they know in terms of things that need to be done. So one of the first things that we did is we identified really 5 different partners that we wanted to reach out, and there are many more than this, but there were 5 different partners that we wanted to reach out to say, is this idea a good thing, and would you be willing to help us? And we were so grateful that all of those partners not only thought that it was a good idea, but enthusiastically said, yes, tell us what we can do to help you make this happen. And those partners, and they're in your program, but those partners include the Rural Center, they include North Carolina Department of Commerce, they include Golden Leaf Foundation, they include IAI, and they include the North Carolina EDA, Economic Developers Association. I'll also mention that Hometown Strong, Governor Cooper's initiative, Pryor, Gibson, and Mary Penny Kelly have also been involved. They're not official partners, but they were involved in some of the meetings as well. From this, we came up with this concept that in rural North Carolina, for economic development, we wanted to talk about 5 building blocks. And that's what we're going to do over the next 2 days. And I won't get into that because Chris Chung in a few minutes is going to talk about kind of the logistics of the event. The one thing that I do want to talk about, though, in the 2 or 3 minutes that I've got left, is to talk about kind of the focus or the underlying theme of what we're going to be talking about. And it involves, for lack of a better word, it involves a holistic approach. One of the things you're going to notice the next couple of days is we're going to talk about different issues, and they could easily be, we'll be talking about an issue in say, infrastructure, and that issue could easily be an education issue as well. These things, these topics that we're going to be talking about are interrelated. You have to, it's our thought that it's important for us to be strong in all of these 5 areas. So in that sense, there's a holistic approach to it. And that's important because our lives as people who work in rural counties, in rural North Carolina, rural towns and rural counties, I think that's kind of a common theme, is a holistic theme. And let me explain what I mean by that. What I mean by that is that if you are, for example, if you are the CEO of a rural hospital in North Carolina, you don't have the privilege, or you don't have the luxury of being able to say, you know, I don't really care about, I don't care about transportation issues in my county. I don't care. I do care, but I'm not responsible to make sure that my county has good transportation for its size, appropriate transportation infrastructure for its size. You can't do that because you do care. You have to care. If you're a president of a community college in rural North Carolina, you don't have the luxury of being able to say, I don't really, it's not my job to worry about, say, availability and affordability of pre-K services in my community. Even though it's not part of my core mission, I still have to worry about that because it impacts me. If the third example I thought last night was economic development people. If you're an economic developer in North Carolina, you don't have the luxury, in rural North Carolina, you don't have the luxury to be able to say, I don't really, it's not my job to worry about, for example, good access to health services in my community, physical health services, mental health services, you know, the whole spectrum. It's not, you've got to be able to deal with all of those issues because, A, those are all economic development issues. Everything I just mentioned are economic development issues. And secondly, that's what we do in rural North Carolina. We have to solve our own problems. You know, local issues require local solutions. That's not to say that we don't have partners who can help us. That's not to say that we don't have tons of partners who can help us, even partner with us. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to do that. And so we all wear a lot of hats when we wake up in the morning and go out into the world and try and make our particular locations better, our particular communities better. And that's part of what we're going to be doing here the next couple of days, is to ask you to look at these things. Everything that's going to be presented to you is an economic development issue. Look at these things. Think about how they pertain to your particular area. How can you take some of these things back and start developing broad outlines? And our goal, our definition of success here is we want you guys driving back tomorrow afternoon already with ideas, thinking about how you're going to take what you've seen here and do tangible things to make your communities better. So in closing, once again, I want to thank particularly our staff people, and do me a favor if you would. The next 26 hours, if this is a good event that you think it's worthwhile, you'll see our staff people everywhere. Thank them for me, because again, they are the ones that have done the work. They are the ones who are continuing to do the work. If there are areas that we could be better at, share that with me, because I can honestly say that everything good that's going to happen over the past couple of days is because of Frank, because of Chris, because of the staff, and because of the board members who have worked on this. And any shortcomings that we might have is because of me, because of my deficiencies, and so share those with me. So with that, what I would like to do is hand it back to Frank. Say one more thing. Let's have fun next couple of days and do good work. And we'll begin it with a special speaker, and I'll have Frank introduce him. Thank you.
Could I have the members of the board who are present stand up, please, so you can see those folks? I know we have several that are here. Would you all stand up? Thank you all for being here. Thanks, folks. Today's speaker is someone you all know, so I'll present rather than introduce him. He's a son of Nash County, which is is in eastern North Carolina. I'm fond of letting people know that people who grew up eastern North Carolina typically are smarter than the rest of you, but it's fine. It's fine. We will. You know, we have a program to help you. He's a son of Nash County. He did his undergraduate work at UNC, where he was a Morehead Scholar. I met him when we were in law school together at UNC. He's a family man, surrounded by beautiful women, 3 daughters, and the First Lady of North Carolina. All of his professional life, or at least all of it that I know of, he has spent in service to our state. He served in the General Assembly for a number of years and was a leader in both the House and the Senate. And after that, he ran statewide and became the state's Attorney General, and served us very well in that position for 16 years. And then as of January 1, 2017, he became the 75th governor of the state of North Carolina. The role that I have is a gubernatorial appointment, and so I owe my ability to stand here today to Governor Cooper. I mention that for this reason, that the meeting where he talked to me about doing this job, we shared some of our experiences growing up, me and Wilson, him in Nash County, and thinking about what our dreams were for our state. And he said, and I have heard him say this in many speeches, you want a North Carolina where people can have more money in their pockets and jobs with careers and have better lives as a result of the things that we do. Well, that resonates with me and with us, and I know it resonates with you. And so I'd ask you, if you would please, join me in welcoming our governor, who is in fact the person whose idea this began, to help in bringing prosperity to our state. Thank you, Governor, for the work that you do. Governor Roy Cooper.
Thank you, guys. So Frank Emory, big city Charlotte lawyer, big law firm, Duke University. Let me just say, he is Wilson County through and through, so fear not. Thank you, Frank, for your service, and thank you to all of you who are here, particularly those economic developers who work hard in your counties across the state, and the thought leaders that you have brought with you. Having grown up in eastern North Carolina, I know the importance of community and leaders in a community and how that affects the prosperity of counties in rural North Carolina. As Frank did, I want to thank the Department of Commerce, the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, and all the board members, and Chris Chung, and all of you who are here. The Rural Center, Patrick Woody, and they've done so much work over the years. The Golden Leaf Foundation, Dan, thank you for your good work. The Institute for Emerging Issues at North Carolina State University, and the North Carolina Economic Development Association. I will say, having grown up in rural North Carolina, having practiced law there for 18 years, being the managing partner of my law firm for the last few years, I understand the importance of everyone pulling together, because we know, and you're going to talk about them this next day and a half, we know the challenges that rural North Carolina faces. We know the issues of trying to get broadband and infrastructure and health care and education and trying to keep your young people there. We know those challenges. As economic developers, I know, talk about the good things, but we need more of our state leaders talking about the good things in rural North Carolina, why it's good to go there. The people. My goodness, as governor, I've seen so many stories. A county planner in Madison County working on broadband did some of the same things in Yancey County. You saw a business leader with local public school students, getting them state-of-the-art megatronics so that they can train and get a good paying job. You got a community college faculty that reaches into their own pockets to help some kids finish getting their degree when they ran into a financial emergency. People pulled together in rural North Carolina, and that's a positive trait. There's a much lower cost of living often. There's more open space. People are friendlier. Things move a little bit slower. That's an attraction for a lot of people. Often you're closer to our natural resources. We need to sell those attributes for rural North Carolina. Also, it's important, the economic recruiting strategy. As I've talked to the partnership, as I've talked to Commerce, we understand that we want businesses to come to North Carolina, both our rural and urban areas. But often it's a dual strategy. Sometimes you've got a company that needs something more advanced or higher office level on one side. They need a distribution center on the other side. Why not promote some of our urban counties for one and some of our rural counties for the other? We saw that happen recently with Corning, setting up their Valor Glass medical manufacturing in Durham and putting the distribution center in Edgecombe County. You know that with incentives and with working together to recruit, we can be effective. We also know there's an uptick in global manufacturing where advanced manufacturing wants to come to the United States. Our rural areas are prime locations for those. So you know these things, and you know what we need to do in our recruiting strategy. But we also know there's so much more, because this conference is about all of the big things that matter and the little things that matter. When we were thinking about what we can do to be effective for rural North Carolina, this idea that crystallized around Hometown Strong relied on the fact that if we can break down silos, if we can get rural counties the attention that they need, particularly from state government, then we can be more successful. And having represented 4 rural counties in the General Assembly and having been on the ground where you got this company and they're thinking about coming here and you're all pushing and shoving and trying to do everything you can, the community pulling together to try to get them to come, we know that you can use the help of state government in many ways. And often there's a smaller staff that you have at the local level in a rural county or a small town, and there's so many things going on out there. The idea of Hometown Strong was to use the convening power of the governor's office, and that's one thing I have found. If we call a meeting, people come. That's a good thing. What we have done is told each of our cabinet agencies, when Hometown Strong calls you, pay attention to it. So what Pryor Gibson and Mary Penny Kelly have begun to do is to go across the state and bring Raleigh to these rural counties, to actually the cabinet members and their top deputies, to break down the silos, to get them communicating, to get them to find out where grants may be that they may not know about, to work out problems where if the Department of Environment were paying attention to commerce and transportation, then we can fix something. And I know, as Pryor says, this is Hometown Strong is not, I'm from Raleigh and I'm here to help you. Oftentimes, Hometown Strong is, I'm from Raleigh and I'm here to get out of your way. So we know that Hometown Strong, we believe it can play a significant role in making sure that rural North Carolina is heard, that we focus attention on that part of the state, and that we're successful in economic recruitment. There's some big issues, though, that we need to tackle that certainly are going to involve investment of money. One is broadband. You know it. I know it. These businesses know it. We've got to do it. There's some innovative things going on out there in rural counties to make sure we get connected. I put $20 million in my budget to help facilitate public-private partnerships that I think are going to be necessary to expand broadband. Legislature ended up doing 10, and there are a few more restrictions on it. But we know that has to be a priority. We're going to have to leverage federal grants. We're going to have to get rural North Carolina connected, because you just can't succeed in business without it. And I've already seen numerous success stories of rural businesses before and after broadband, like a farming operation in Wilson County, for that matter, that was struggling, finally getting it connected, opening up to global markets, and now they're looking to build more capacity for their farm simply because they got broadband access. Healthcare, Mike mentioned it earlier. Folks, what about this economic development project for North Carolina? What about $4 billion a year coming into our state? What about 40,000 new, pretty good paying jobs over the next 5 years? What about helping to control healthcare costs for private businesses, and then maybe providing some health insurance for about 600,000 North Carolinians that otherwise didn't have it, removing them from the indigent list, and particularly in rural North Carolina, increasing health care coverage significantly. Our General Assembly has to say one word to make that happen. Yes. Yes, we will accept Medicaid expansion like many other states across the country have done. We need you to step up and say, it is critical for rural North Carolina that this happen. You asked me about the state match. I thought about that. We pulled hospitals together, CEOs. They know their bottom line is going to be significantly affected by Medicaid expansion. By the way, we've already paying those tax dollars to Washington. We haven't got anything back from it. It's time that we say, yes, this is here to stay. We need to take advantage of it. But those CEOs of the hospitals said, if you do this, we'll take care of the state's 10% match. That's a good deal, folks, and it's important for North Carolina. And your rural representatives and senators need to hear it, because it's going to help our economy. It's going to help our small businesses that are paying health care costs. It's going to create good paying jobs, and it's going to keep rural hospitals viable. We also know that opioids and other substance use disorder are out there. We have a 35-point opioid action plan. We're working out there with you. We know this is an issue, and that's got to stay at the forefront of the healthcare arena. We know that particularly in rural North Carolina, disaster recovery, particularly in the east with Hurricane Matthew, in the west with the latest floods and mudslides, the state needs to step up and make sure that people get the recovery that they need. With Hurricane Matthew, we've already put $650 million on the ground helping people. There's a lot more that will be done, that needs to be done, and people are working hard to do that. And right now with the mudslides, we're assessing the damages, trying to get help with the federal disaster relief. We also know another big issue, workforce, critical. If we don't have the people who can perform the jobs that these companies create, they're not going to come to rural North Carolina. That's why investment in education is critical. We need to be a top 10 educated state by 2025. I have a plan to do that. We got to invest from cradle to college, early childhood, pre-K, K through 12. We have to get our teacher salaries to at least the national average in the next 4 years. We have to continue to invest in our community colleges and universities. And by the way, we're already top 10 in the country with our community colleges and universities. And our community colleges are often the backbone of economic development, recruitment in the rural counties. We have to invest. But I've also started NC Job Ready through the NC Works Commission. And it's going to be focused on getting our people ready for the jobs, not only of today, but tomorrow. I told a graduating high school class that about 60% of the jobs that you are going to have an opportunity to get haven't even been invented yet. So working on soft skills, working on making sure that we get certification in the high demand fields and degrees in the high demand fields is critical. NC Job Ready concentrates on education attainment, making sure we have the ability to get that education and skill training to people. Today I stood with Peter Hans, the new community college president. He's going to work hard with you guys. We announced Finish Line grants. I had proposed $20 million for Finish Line grants that the General Assembly did not approve. We were able to leverage some federal money and provide $7 million. This is a situation where someone is about to finish a certification or a degree, but they have a big car repair or a big medical bill or their child care falls through. We all, you know, rural North Carolina, these people who are living right on the edge, and they aren't able to finish their degree. Finish Line grants are going to provide help to people in that situation, and we'll get you information on that. But we've got to make sure that people get the education and skills they need. Secondly, we need employer involvement. Employers have to tell our community colleges and our universities what they need, and we have to work hand in glove with them on that. Already that's happening, but we need to do it more. Work-based learning is so critical. Bringing back, making sure that we have all kinds of jobs that we're working on to get people to have employment in welding and construction, but also in advanced manufacturing and work-based learning with the ability to get people on the job and get teachers onto the job so that they know what's going on will be critical. And the last part of this is local innovation. One example of that is in Hickory, North Carolina, where people thought furniture manufacturing is dead. Advanced furniture manufacturing for high-end furniture is not dead. And in fact, there are thousands of good-paying jobs that are available. And those manufacturers in the Hickory area could not find the employees. They pulled together with the community college there, came up with the idea of the Furniture Academy. They hired instructors from the very companies who need the workers. They do the classes at night, and people are graduating from Furniture Academy and getting into good-paying jobs almost immediately. 100% so far of the graduates have gotten good-paying jobs. That's the kind of local innovation that we need to encourage. And finally, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing with opportunity zones. Those of you who know this sort of surprise legislation that came up with the federal tax bill said that states can designate opportunity zones, low-income areas where people who would invest would get tax breaks. You guys have done a good work across the state designating the areas that you want. In our economic recruitment, we need to figure out how to leverage that and to make sure that investors are looking at our communities across North Carolina. I've been so thankful to be in this job every single day. I wake up every morning, there's a new opportunity. Every day's been fun. Some days more fun than others for me. But every day has been fun, and it's been a great challenge. Frank was right about my CEO mission statement for North Carolina. My cabinet hears it almost every day. The people I work with hear it almost every day. But I want a North Carolina where people are better educated, where they're healthier, where they have more money in their pockets, and they have the opportunities to live a more abundant and purposeful life. That's it. I told that to a third grade class the other day. They love the more money in your pockets part of that. Starts early, doesn't it? But we want a more prosperous North Carolina, being better educated, being healthier, having those opportunities. That'll get us there. Your work today is going to be important. I will read the report. We want to make our entire state prosperous, all 100 counties. I believe we can do that. And I believe together we can make a North Carolina that works for everyone. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.